Okay, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much for coming. The formal bit really for the start of today's meeting. It's obviously my job as the Chair of Norfolk CA to welcome you to the annual general meeting of the Norfolk Citizens Advice. Please note that any voting during the AGM can only be made by NCA members. Please be aware that this meeting also is being recorded. I hope that's happy for everybody. The notice, I propose that the notice convening this annual general meeting be taken as read. I have apologies. Apologies have been received from Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith and Robert Downey. Proxy appointments have been received from the following members: Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan and Simon Smith. With the number of members present, I declare that the meeting is a quorum. Copies of the minutes have been sent out to you all of the annual general meeting of the 18th of October 2022, and I trust you've all successfully received those. What I'm looking for, please, is a proposer for the resolution that the minutes of the annual general meeting held, as I say, on the 18th of October 22 will be approved as a true and accurate record. So can I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Andy. And please may I have a seconder? Ben, thank you. Those in favour? Anybody against? Thank you. Those who have been voted by proxy via the chair, and how did they vote? Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith, I'm pleased to say, all voted in favour. I declare the resolution carried, not carried, or sorry, to be carried. Passing on now to the meaty parts of the AGM. Accounts for the year ending the 31st of March 2023 have been sent to members in accordance with the requirements of the Companies Act 2006. If there are any questions from members on the accounts, I will take those questions now, and with Stephanie Smith from our auditors, Lovell Blake here, has confirmed that she's happy to answer any said questions. So does anybody have any questions, please? Yes, sir.
This is not a question about the accounts, but because you said that only members could vote, as a new boy, I'm a volunteer, does that mean I'm a member?
No.
Thank you.
Well, I got that question right.
It was decisive.
But if you want to be one, if you want to be one, we can sort that out.
I'm sure I would like to be one, but I didn't know there was...
No, there is a distinction, yeah. Okay?
Thank you.
As there were no questions, please may I have a proposer for the resolution that the NCA's audited accounts for the financial year ending the 31st of March 2023, together with the reports of the auditors and the trustees thereon, be adopted. So could I have a proposer for that, please? Ian, please, yeah. And could I have a seconder? Andy, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Those who have voted by proxy, again, how have they voted? Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith, all voted in favour. I declare that the resolution to be carried. Thank you for that. But what I'm going to stop here for the moment, and Steph, can I come to you for any comments in your preparation of our accounts, please, given the year?
They went together very well. Income for the year was very consistent at 2.1 million. Expenditure was also consistent at 2 million year on year. Now there is some variation. There were some contracts that ended in 31st of March 2022, but were replaced by other new contracts and new funding streams in 2023. Expenditure changed in staff. Expenditure went down, so that represented the number of staff also reducing, but payments to third-party subcontractor partners increase, and that just reflects the change in contracts. The accounts were prepared in accordance with the Companies Act, Charities Act, and give a really good overview of the activities for the year in the trustees' report, the number of people that were helped by NCA, and also the increased demand that is out there from your beneficiaries. Overall, from a financial position point of view, there was a net surplus of just short of 90,000, and that was between both restricted income, i.e. income you can only use on certain projects, and unrestricted income, which is just towards the day-to-day. Overall, from a financial position point of view, reserves, i.e. funds that you can use on general overheads and day-to-day operations, are up on the policy and up on last year, with free reserves at around 790,000, which is higher than the policy, but that's a good position to be in line with potential future budget deficits and how difficult it is for getting funding for projects right now. So overall, financially, the year ended well, and obviously gives you a good position leading into 23-24 and beyond.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. I think in the minutes, Steffi, you're going to make a move, aren't you?
No, you're okay.
Okay, yeah. I'm doing it so quick, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Moving on to the auditors. On the recommendation of the Board of Trustees, the reappointment of Lovell Blake as auditors of NCA, subject to review and to authorise directors to fix their remuneration. Please may I have a proposer that Lovell Blake be reappointed as auditors, subject to a review. Andy, yeah. And please may I have a seconder for the said proposal. No, yeah, I am. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against, please? And again, for those who have voted by proxy via the chair, how have they voted? Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith have voted all in favour. I declare the resolution carried. It's been the library.
Thank you very much.
Subject to review. Okay, reappointment of directors. On the recommendations of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Ian Davis as a director who is retiring by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Ian Davis to be reappointed as a director, please? There I am, please. Yeah. And the seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? And again, via the proxy votes, Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith all voted in favour. I declare the resolution carried. Second reappointment, on the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Richard Gray as a director, again who is retiring by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Again, please can I have a proposer that Richard Gray is reappointed as a director? Are you taking these? Thank you. And therefore also can I have a seconder? All those in favour? Or anybody against? That's where you find out who your friends are, don't you? And again, with regards to the proxy votes, Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith, all voted in favour. Again, I declare the resolution carried. Next, reappointments. On the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Andrew Mole as a director, who again retires by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Andrew Mole to be appointed as a director? And a seconder, please. All those in favour? Anybody against? And yet again, I can confirm that Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, Simon Smith all voted in said favour. Now, last one, so don't get too bored by this. On the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Simon Smith as a director, again retiring by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Simon Smith to be reappointed as a director? Thank you. May I have a seconder? Thank you. Those in favour? Anybody against? Thank you. And again, via the proxy votes, all four individuals, Peter Banks, Charlotte Land, Roger Margan, it's only three, isn't it, because it's a Simon, yeah? All voted in favour. I therefore declare the resolution carried. Okay. Yes, that's the meat, really, of the AGM. CU, I believe you're going to say a few words?
Okay, indeed. You don't want to do anything else?
No, I'll pick up as per the AGM.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do your good self, yeah?
Move to the...
It's as quiet as you've been for
Yeah, my throat's going bad.
about 2 years, actually.
David, with a director resignation as well, did we want to?
Pardon?
Director resignation?
No, we'll do that, that's okay.
I've got two microphones, such as my appalling voice, so hopefully everybody can hear me okay. The formal AGM's finished, so if anybody wants to leave, now's the time. So there's two pieces of bad news. One is that we lined up some fabulous speakers from across the organisation, but a number of them can't make it for very good reason, and our thoughts are with all of them for various reasons today. The second piece of bad news is that I'm going to cover for them. So brace yourselves, it's going to be a long afternoon. Dominic Cummins, me, and Halloween on the same day, can you imagine? Fortunately, we do have one of our department leaders who's going to speak and tell you a little bit about what he's seen on the front line. Joe has been with us for a while and has done a number of different jobs. And he came in back into the organisation to lead our energy and crisis group. And it looked like an easy job when he joined. Such is the energy and crisis challenge across Norfolk, it's grown and grown and grown. So I'm really happy to come and speak and tell you a little bit about what he and the fabulous team does and what we're seeing. I wonder if you could welcome Joe to the stage.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for the introduction. Hopefully you can hear me. Yes, I can see some nods, good. So, as Mark said, I'm the department lead for the Crisis and Energy Department. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of what those teams do. So essentially it's a department which consists of three teams, the energy team, the food bank team, and a team called Help Through Crisis. So firstly, I'd just like to talk about the work of our energy team. Um, we have two energy advisors, or two dedicated energy advisors, working across 3 different energy projects. So there is the Energy Advice Project, an Energy Outreach, and an Energy Caseworker Project. This gives us quite a broad reach. Energy advice is the kind of things which might be beneficial to almost anybody, whether they're in fuel poverty or not. We can talk to them about energy efficiency, energy safety, tariffs, better energy deals, and that's also the project which would distribute energy vouchers. We're finding there is quite incredible demand on the energy team over the last couple of years for reasons you'll all have seen in the news and such like. Alongside energy advice, we do energy outreach. This allows us to attend events and community sessions to reach the hard-to-reach clients, hard-to-reach areas in Norfolk, the kind of people who may not approach Citizens Advice independently. The caseworker project, as part of the energy team, is a new contract to us, and that has enabled us to do a lot more in-depth, ongoing work with clients. So the caseworker project is often actually disputing incorrect energy bills and people who are in some quite severe energy crises. That project is through Cadent, the gas distribution company, and Viv Grimmer is our dedicated caseworker, alongside Sue Whitworth, our energy team supervisor. She's been able to help already this financial year over 100 clients, and each of those clients on average has benefited by more than £1,000 in energy savings. So that kind of project gives us a real ability to help those clients in severe energy situations, which we weren't really more difficult to deal with last year because of the demand on the general energy advice service. So having those 3 different energy projects allows us to advise essentially for any energy issue which comes up. That's working well, but the demand for energy issues just does not stop. As you'll see on a slide which is now behind me, and probably should have been behind me a couple of minutes ago, we've seen a 149% increase in energy issues compared to 21-22. And we see an average of 23 energy issues raised every day across Norfolk Citizens Advice. So the energy team are doing great work, but the demand does keep coming, and that doesn't seem to be likely to drop at any time soon. Our food bank team work across Norfolk, and we advise from 18 different food banks across Norfolk. That's part of the Trussell Trust's Financial Inclusion Project, and we are able to support clients. It's not a caseworker project, but we certainly can offer long-term support for food bank clients. Food bank advisors do issue food bank vouchers, but there's sometimes a bit of a misconception that that's why our food bank advisors are in food banks. They are not there purely to issue vouchers. The main part of a food bank advisor's role is to work, often long-term, with clients to reduce their need to use the food bank, and hopefully in some cases make it so they don't need to use the food bank again. A food bank advisor role is quite challenging, principally because pretty much every other department or team at Citizens Advice, the clients are approaching them because they want advice. But in a food bank, clients want food. They aren't actually coming to the food bank in order to receive advice from Citizens Advice. So it is often a case of essentially coaxing these clients into advice, and that's why it's quite a challenging role. So yeah, it's a case of coaxing and encouraging, and not making demands on a client like you need to do all of these things before we will give you food. So it's a bit of a balance and a negotiation. If clients do refuse to engage at all without good reason, then food bank support would be withdrawn. But we've found over the course of this project that being patient, kind of trying to build a rapport, almost a a social rapport with those clients when you see them regularly at food banks is the way to lead them gradually to engage more seriously. Finally, we have our Help Through Crisis project, which is a project which allows us to do some very extensive casework with some very complex clients. And increasingly, I think most people who work for Citizens Advice here would agree, we're getting more complex issues and more clients with more complex issues than we would have seen previously. That's why this project, I think, is particularly important, because we can work with clients for, as a standard, it's up to 8 weeks. It can be extended beyond that if the client is engaging and is achieving, and we can see a significant improvement at the end of that process. It allows us to support clients with multiple issues, and the aim of the project is to help them be more independent in the future. So a little bit like the food bank project, in that we want essentially for these clients not to need the food banks. It's similar for Help Through Crisis, in that we want to try and tackle the multiple issues they have in one period of time, rather than try and intervene and then 3 months later the client comes back and we need to intervene again. We've had some really significant successes on that project. And we have achieved some outstanding financial gains for clients. But also what this project has allowed us to show is we do surveys with the clients before and after the advice. And what that's enabled us to pick up is clients frequently report improvements in their mental and physical health, their friendship groups, their family, due to our support. And that's been quite an encouraging trend, in that maybe we're helping a client out with their energy bills and their benefits, but that's actually having an impact on all different areas of their lives. In terms of Norfolk Citizens Advice, the Help Through Crisis project is primarily based in Kings Lynn and West Norfolk and the Great Yarmouth area. We also work alongside our partners from Distant Thetford and Mancroft Advice Project, who cover Norwich and Thetford on that project. Another benefit of the Help Through Crisis project is that we are able to do lots of outreach and again go into areas of the community where perhaps there isn't an easily accessible Citizens Advice office, places such as Downham Market, Hunstanton and Goulston, where those people, although they might have an office a few miles away, aren't willing or able to access those services. So the outreach has made a big impact. So in summary, due to the extension of our energy team with the caseworker project, the Help Through Crisis project, which is helping people over a long period of time, and the food bank project, where we do ongoing work, we can offer a different type of service to a lot of other teams, departments and charities. We also, of course, help single issue clients. And as I say, we're doing that in lots of different areas where people haven't been able to access face-to-face service before. So thank you for listening to me. My final closing mention would be just to thank the various funders we have who fund the projects on our department. And I'm going to take a little bit of a deep breath as I read them all out. So thank you very much to the Trussell Trust, the National Lottery, Cadent Gas Distribution Company, The Guardian, the James Paget University Hospital, Great Yarmouth Borough Council, National Citizens Advice, the Yorkshire Building Society, and as well the COVID Recovery Fund, who have helped us through various different health and wellbeing partnerships. All of those organisations are supporting and helping us with funding, which makes our department's work possible. Thank you.
That's a lot of funders. There's a lot of them in the room. Thank you very much. Just as an aside, we've got 48 funding lines to run the business, which is why I no longer have hair. So it's a challenge. Now, so I'm going to give you a quick run through the slides for the speakers that were unable to come through today. They had really important points to raise, so I don't want them lost. Firstly, we wanted to acknowledge the work that we're doing across the county, particularly what we call our offices that are across the county from Kingsley to Great Yarmouth. And thank Rebecca and Claire. Claire's here at least. Where are you, Claire? Give us a wave. I can't see you at the back. They're always at the back, hiding. But the work that Rebecca and Claire lead on the operations side and the work of our offices, Tom's in. Hello, Tom, give us a wave. Hello, Tom. Tom keeps Brecon going for us. But thank you to all of our advice coordinators and the leads that we have. I'm going to mention them to Susan, to Trudy, to Helen, to Mary Kent and Mary Rowe. And just to note Jan Stratton, whose work last year and previous years in Fakenham as a volunteer to run our office was critical. And it was great to see Mary and Jan getting recognition at the Norfolk show this year. So thank you to all of them. And to the 150 or so volunteers that work in those offices every day. It's still at the heart of Citizens Advice Norfolk. It's not going away anytime soon. We can't do anything that we're going to tell you about actually without those offices being open, those people at the front door, those people being welcoming in very difficult circumstances. And I'll talk about those slightly as well. But thank you to all of them. Without those volunteers, we don't have a service. The numbers, anybody figure out the numbers? The numbers are the growth in the last quarter compared to the quarter last year of cost of living issues that we're seeing in Norfolk. South Norfolk's an outlier. Clearly, Thetford, where's Thetford? Give us a wave. You guys are clearly making a difference down there, keeping the numbers down. That's a little bit of a strange number, but you can see the rest of the county is showing alarming growth in cost of living issues. I did check, the national average is 10% across all of Citizens Advice. And just for those of you wondering, City of Westminster has gone into a minus figure, so they're doing okay. Clearly, particularly the rural areas are suffering more still. And just to pick up on Joe's point, the energy demand is increasing year on year on year. So these numbers are not going down, and they're alarming, and it's the volunteer front line that's keeping the doors open to answer those people's requests for help. And we've got a number of our peer charities in the room doing a fantastic job, and a number online as well. I think we'd all say we haven't got the capacity to meet the demand. The doors are closing across Norfolk. There's the volunteers that are keeping them open, so I would underline our thanks to them. And the other thing, Joe, just to mention on the energy, in the 6 months leading up to 2023, we saw a 1,200% increase in energy issues across Norfolk. That's what drove the debt issues significantly. It wasn't just energy, but that was the main driver. So this is a quick word about our debt team, who I talk about debt almost every time I speak publicly. The debt team are doing an amazing job. So Marcel can't be here today, but I do want to thank both Rebecca as our Chief Officer and Marcel as our Money and Debt Lead, and everybody in that team, the debt advisors and our administrators, because they're making a difference between people eating and not, people needing mental health support and not, people being able to clothe their kids and not. They wrote off £1.1 million worth of debt last year, which is more than the 2 years before it. And it's notable as well what Marcel and Rebecca have done with the help of some people in the room and online, in that they've grown the debt team in the last 18 months. 40% of the debt teams across the country, funded by money and pension support, have shrunk or closed. That's not driving the increase in our business, by the way, but it's the wrong direction for a service that's so badly needed across the country. So thanks to them for growing and for working with partners across Norfolk, bringing more funding, supporting more staff to stay as trained debt advisors, which is not easy, it's a large demand, and to make a big difference. They've been busy. We tracked a debt issue last year every 10 minutes of our opening hours. It slowed down from every 7, which is what I was reporting 6 months ago. So if you're looking for a bright spark, then that's it. But it's a very, very bad, very concerning issue. And it's driving the massive increase in benefits queries that we're seeing as well. You'll see that I've nicked piles of graphics from our impact report, so if you're interested in learning more, please go into that. But we're happy to talk to you about how the debt process works and also what we're seeing across Norfolk. And lastly, I did want to touch on our social prescribing in Norwich, which as much promotion as I, and particularly Lee, does, it's still poorly understood. And we have partners online, I know, that are very supportive of our work. We are part of a consortium with 4 other VCSE organisations delivering advice through casework support, so that's ongoing work, with people across Norwich, most of them coming to us from GP surgeries and funded by NHS funds. It's called social prescribing, it's essentially casework advice, which is what we do and we've done in the city for over 80 years. But they do a fantastic job. They are full and they are still getting referrals. They work together across the city with different organisations. It is the very example of collaboration. And we're very proud of what you do, guys. They help the health service as well, as you note. So we've got some numbers on there. They look really good. And I didn't fix these numbers. The numbers at the top, positive client response, just from quarter 1 response is 100%. We don't get 100% on any of our services, just quietly. That's an incredible response rate. The impact on people's well-being is huge. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. With the reduction on the service load that was towards the bottom of the page there, I don't know if you can see it, but 500 quid and 2 hours of GP time of every GP every day is incredible, and that's the value of quality advice. We're working on extension of that contract, but it is one of the most important services in the city, and it is the single largest receiver of referrals to the NCA referral unit across the county. Their work needs to be championed and celebrated. So that's the good stuff, and then I'd step up. And in terms of the work that we've got to do internally over the next year, I wanted to encapsulate it in one slide, which is challenging. We've got an awful lot still to do. So colleagues in the room know that things aren't perfect. We need premises updated. In some cases, we need to move them. I can't get my laptop to work this morning, so we need IT investment. We need to fill all our roles. Recruitment is really hard for us at the moment. So we know there's an awful lot of aspects that we need to keep moving on, and we're about to go into a strategic review period which will include conversations with all of our teams across Norfolk to try and make sure that we build in your comments and that we invest in the sort of areas we need to invest in. We are thinly spread as an organisation. Most of the VCSE organisations in Norfolk would look to us as a big boy, as getting massive amounts of funding, because actually, relatively speaking, we are, but we are very thinly spread. So we're going to look at how we can build more resilience, how we can support our teams to work together across the localities across Norfolk, and we're going to come out and talk about that and get all the good ideas we can get. We've been talking about doing this all year as well, but we're now into the quarter where we're going to do it, and I'm very happy to announce that we're going to create a working party to form a new equality, diversity and inclusion group, and that group is something that we'll send all of our policies and our decisions through as well, to try and make sure that we're getting fully engaged and inclusive approaches through the organisation, the change that we need to make. I also just mentioned the research activity. We're not going to talk about research very much today, but we've got a burgeoning research team that are trying to do more. It's one of our strategic roles is to advocate for our clients, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. But we're very proud of the work that we're doing with UEA and NSFT, trying to get more community research going. So if anybody's interested in talking to us or helping us on that, you're more than welcome. I would just note, none of this stuff is going to work if it relies on me, because I'm not that organised. The people that make the change happen, many of them are in the room, some of them aren't. I should just say thank you first to Angela for organising our AGM and keeping our chair on track. But in all the ways she does on governance and statutory compliance through the year. A £2.2 million charity has got an awful lot of things to worry about, as many of you know in the room. And Angela was our new company secretary is key. I would also say thank you to Becky, as our business manager, and Ilaria and Alex, who keep our finances and HR going, which is challenging. And I don't make it any easier right now, but I appreciate their support. And also today, just thanks to Rosie for organising the event, but all of the fundraising work, and the inclusion of Colin now in the room, so it's good to have welcome you into the organisation. And to Isla as well. Where's Isla? Give us a wave, Isla. It's really difficult to do this thing. Okay. Who produces all of our comms, all of our social media, our emails, our website. Anything else? Give us a wave of that document. So the impact report, the case studies, is pretty much the whole thing of these Isla's work. So I wonder if, first of all, you could give us a little round of applause to thank staff. I don't make it easier asking to change colons to semicolons and back again on a daily basis. So thank you very much. I warmly recommend you take that back and look at it, because the work in there is incredible and it's brilliantly presented. So that's the one thing that we've got to do, is deliver our strategy, strengthen the organisation in very challenging times. The second thing is we have to advocate for our clients. The voice of the clients is still pretty quiet across governance and policy in the meetings that I attend across Norfolk still. I didn't want to throw out too many numbers, but there are some critical figures coming from our data set, which is extraordinary and still isn't really mined enough. We undertook 50% increase in the activities per client last year. And that's not because we're looking for work to do, that's because the complexity of the issues our clients are facing and the urgency of those cases has increased. We're doing more casework as a result. We're currently tracking at 40% more clients this year than last. Those two measures would look fantastic in any other company, but that means we're under incredible pressure. We are still the go-to place. We are kind of the end of the line as well as the front door. We can't do that continually. We have to put controls in to make sure that our people stay healthy as well, and we're going to keep talking about that through this next quarter. And just as a note, 80% growth this year in clients reporting debt issues. It is a pandemic of debt. And there's always a good chart in The Guardian to make you full of woe. I don't know if you saw this one, but this is where 1 million children are living in deprivation compared to 400,000 6 years ago. I will include a little line that isn't on the slide. We need to do more work on the adverse childhood experience. If you don't know what that is, I really recommend you Google it. It's not very complicated. If you have a very bad childhood, if you experience emotional neglect and physical neglect and parent breakup and parent imprisonment, mental ill health, debt or financial deprivation, you will probably develop very bad health outcomes. You will, if you have 3 or 4 of those things, be 14 times more likely to commit suicide. We don't talk about that very often in the governance meetings we're in. Many of you are in the room with me, and I know you know what I'm talking about. We don't talk about this level of prevention. So, that's going to be one of the big pushes for us externally now and going through to the new year. We're going to be banging on about social determinants of health, which is the stuff on the left-hand side. Apologies for the typos, but it was American, so you're fine. Nobody criticises the typos. 40% of the factors that affect your health are socio-economic. We deal with that. 10% around physical environment. We do quite a bit of housing work, particularly with our colleagues in shelter. Health behaviours, we do a little bit, and we're increasingly getting into that. And healthcare, we're working closer and closer with our health service to get access. We as a charity have a charitable purpose for the advancement of education, protection and preservation of health and the relief of poverty and sickness. That's going to be back at the front of our strategy next year, regardless of how we do it, it's going to be there. Because everything that you do, as advisors across our organisation, be it volunteers or staff, is making Norfolk healthier. All those issues on the right-hand side, that's what we tracked in 10 years. 500,000 issues, and most of them relate to health. So we'll be building that at the heart of our strategy. And the last point is how we're going to do that. And that's about building a healthier and stronger Norfolk. And we have our peers in the room that are committed to doing that with us and online. That's not just VCSC, although there's some fantastic partners in the room now. That's working with the ICB, with what you might know as the NHS, and with council colleagues. And I would say thank you to all of our councillors and officers that are in the room and on the call as well. We have to break through those silos of sector an organisation if we're going to do anything significant together. The only problem is things aren't getting better. We're tracking worse and worse figures at a client base, and I've just nicked a couple of headlines from recent news that suggest it's harder and harder as well within the system in Norfolk to do business. The bottom left also just suggests that charities are on the growing, and we've got something like 5,000 charities in Norfolk at the last count, which is more per capita, I think, than most parts of the country. What we need to be doing is coming together. Rather than building new organisations or new services, we need to be co-designing. We need to make sure that quality is at the heart of it. I would just note, just for anybody from the FCA that might be watching, I'm not putting it on there for our advertising. I'm reminding anybody that would like to give debt and money advice, they should check the FCA. We're seeing more and more amateur debt and money advice popping up, and they're calling us to ask how we do it so we can advise them to do more of it. That's not the way we should be doing things. And lastly, I mentioned the Hewitt report, which is from Patricia Hewitt of Norfolk. The future of what we do in health is going to be based around the ICS. If you haven't looked at it, I recommend you look into that. That's a blueprint for how we need to work together going forward. So that's what I do. I go to meetings, I tell people about worrying trends, about challenges and woes. I'm essentially the angel of death. It fits my personality, if I'm honest. But I need to try and find a way of picking up rumours after I've gone through all the woe. So I've got a slide of hope for you. So Christine is up in the Fakenham office, which is one of our outposts, and 1 day a week, very poorly staffed, challenging to work in, but nonetheless working with people with great need. And what she's saying there is what everybody's saying, and that's why we're a great service. That's why we have fantastic colleagues making a huge difference every day. So that's just an example of it. We're working with the people that need us most. 30% of people in most deprived spaces in Norfolk. We didn't take our resources there, they're coming to us, but we will move closer and closer to them. I'm really proud of the way that we're managing to reach those people, because it's actually much better than many of our peers in citizens advice across the country. We have a huge return on our investment. Because of the work that you do, you bring a huge return in public value and in well-being to clients. That's a massive number. That would remind you that we had 2.1 million turnover. That's quite a return in public value and well-being. And I did just check this morning. I'm delighted to say over 65% of our funding is won with other organisations or delivered with other organisations. That number needs to go up. That's the future for citizens advice. But the most important thing is the comment in the middle, which comes from Isla's report, which comes from one of our clients. And when you read their feedback, that's what gives me the most hope, because of your work. So, sorry for bringing the room down. I think we've got the right people and the right partners and the right funders to be able to move forward. And we're looking forward to setting the strategy for next year and taking us forward from there. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes.
This one. Why is it
Speaking in the middle. So,
speaking?
very, you'd like code. So just briefly towards the end, we wanted to give a presentation to a trustee who is leaving us. And I've got it in my hand now. I'm good.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's speaking as a trustee of Voluntary Norfolk, I rock up to 4 meetings a year, might read the papers. I'm not the greatest example of a trustee. This trustee not only did the full trusteeship role, but also volunteered for us and gave advice in one of the most demanding parts of the county. So we want to say thank you very much to Heather and to wish her the very best in the future. We've got a beautiful award, and we've even included the silhouette motif that Citizens Advice so much loves. I'm sure that'll bring you warm. I think there's also a trustee presentation you would like to bring down. Does somebody give us a hand?
I'll support those words.
Thank you very much.
Right, okay. Yes, Heather is leaving us today. It's very sad for me. She's been part of a very strong team of trustees. She's brought to us significant board experience, insight into our services, after working obviously as a volunteer for Great Yarmouth. But she does more than that. She's been involved with the appointment of new employees, but she has a wealth of experience and very well worth listening to if you've got any doubts or not. But for me, we've had this board which has been stable for many years, and for good reasons. Heather is leaving us, concentrating on another fantastic part of her life, which is writing and publishing. And I'd like to say to her personally, as I'm sure all other trustees were, thank you very much for the time, the loyalty and the skill, and in point of fact the sense of humour that you brought to us over these years. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Could be part of growth.
Thank you so much. I shall endeavour not to cough for a few seconds. I think the accepted form of words is it's been an honour and a privilege. But I actually genuinely mean that. It has been both honour and privilege to serve Citizens Advice as an advisor and in the witness service and in Norfolk Citizens Advice Board. If anybody out there is considering volunteering, do. Because there really isn't anything else, I think, that gives you the same level of satisfaction in feeling that you're helping your own community. So thank you for letting me do all that, and thank you very much for this. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Leave with me, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the CEO's telling me I can do what I want now, which is quite unusual. From the chairman's point of view, I'd also like to add to the vote of thanks, certainly to all our volunteers, staff members, trustees, our development committee, all our funders, grant providers, and councils who have helped us and support the Integrated Care Board in Norfolk. Support also from University of East Anglia, and support from local corporate organisations, particularly Aviva and other such corporate businesses. I've been here some 10 years. I think about 7 of those has been in the chair. I'm delighted. I've just noticed that the guy who got me involved in this organisation is sitting to my far left, who when I joined, left. He said there's much better business being done in the food bank. But all in all, I have had a great time. There have been bad times. We've had great times as well. I enjoy working with my trustees, and I have to say the management team is delightful to talk to and deal with. And my dear friend down the end there, who's lost all his hair in the last 2 years, we have a pretty constant direct line, I think, don't we? Something like that every day. Cracking job he's doing for Norfolk and also for all the people who actually live in Norfolk. He's very articulate with numbers and strategies. I'm much more practical. And I think what we should all be aware of, that since COVID, we're living in a changing world. And we as an organisation have to change. And we are aware of that, and we are doing that. We believe that we must work with people, create partnerships, benefit each other. We're taking on new challenges, the way we're going to get our funding, where we're going to get our funding from. We can't rely upon wherever it's always come from. Everybody in this world now has got problems with monies. So we have to actually contribute in a slightly different way. I believe while we're still a charity, we are a much more commercial organisation from when I came in. My vice chair sitting beside me here has got hold of finance, and in point of fact, we actually know how much money we've got now, which is a good start. Look, but in point of fact, we're here, we're strong, we realise we have to change, we will meet the challenges which come before us on a very regular basis, but we're ready for them, and I'm sure that everybody working here will do as much as possible to affront the issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. And to everybody again who's here, whether you're funders, whether you are staff, whether you are volunteers, thank you very much for coming today, and thank you very much for everything you do for this organisation. Thank you.
So guys, there's teas and coffees, I believe. So if you'd like to have a chat, if you want to find somebody with a voice, but thank you for attending, everybody. And if you'd like to stay down and have a chat, meet us and understand the service works, then we'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you very much.